What's up guys, today we're going over my first full Arc 3.0 Titan build, and this build is absolutely insane and will turn you into Thor, the god of thunder. And at first I was gonna make a Titan build revolving around the new exotic gauntlets, but I'm not a huge fan of the melee. I can still make that video for you guys if you want, and there are some pretty cool combos you can do with it, but overall the build I'm gonna be showing off today I think is just way better and way more fun. And I have seen that a few other people have posted similar builds, and that's just kind of like the state of builds in Destiny 2 right now with these old subclasses and pretty much just using exotics that we've all been using for years. So a lot of them are kind of straightforward, but I'm definitely putting my own twist on it, and I'm sure I'm using almost none of the same mods that they are. And if you're looking to pre-order the Lightfall expansion, and if you play on Steam, you can do so in my Nexus store. The link will be down below. So jumping straight into this build, it's going to all revolve around the new aspect, which will enhance your grenades. And this does a lot for all the different grenades, but the most important one will definitely be the Storm Grenade. After detonating, creates a roaming thundercloud that tracks nearby targets and fires bolts of lightning at foes beneath it. So jumping into the game to see what that looks like, throwing it at Carl, it's going to do a lot of damage and constantly stagger him, which is one that I definitely noticed today. As you see, he kind of goes flying because he just tries to get away from it. It kind of pushes things all over the place and just constantly staggers them, which is really good for boss fights. And we can further increase the damage of our grenades on Titan with Heart of Inmost Light, where we're using one of your abilities will empower the other two. Empowered means faster recharge rate, and also the melee and grenades will do more damage. So now all we have to do is use our melee and use our class ability, and we'll have the grenade empowered ×2, which will be a 35% buff to the grenade's damage. And once again, Carl can't seem to stay still, so I didn't hit all of the grenade on him, but it does roughly like 250k damage, which is obviously a lot from a single ability. And on top of the increased damage, we also have the greatly increased recharge rate. So with empowered ×2 for all of our abilities, as you see, we get them back very quickly. And like usual, this will still be based off the base cooldown, and that is why I'm getting my class ability back the fastest. And speaking of which, I am using the thruster because one, it's like the cool new thing to dodge around, but also the practical reason is it has the fastest base cooldown of 30 seconds. The Rally Barricade is not too far behind at 32, so you could also use that. I'm using the Seismic Strike, which is the shorter charge, for the blinding part. When you're amplified, the radius is very large and blinding things is very good. The Thunderclap is alright, I'm not a huge fan of it. Then you could also use the Slam, but I think overall the best is the blinding shorter charge. Then my secondary aspect will be Knockout, not for any particular reason. I think you can also use Juggernaut, but this will also enhance our melee in a few different ways and help us become amplified. And now for our fragments, which I kind of already showed off with the damage of the Storm Grenade. We have this one right here to make the grenade linger a lot longer, and that obviously works with a Storm Grenade. Then also we have the Spark of Shock to make the Storm Grenade also jolt, which means it'll constantly spread that arc web to nearby allies. And with that, when we defeat the jolted targets, we'll create an Ionic Trace, which will help get our abilities back. And finally, we have Amplitude to create Orbs of Power while amplified. So now with just all of our subclass stuff going on, basically what you do is to start the combo, use your shorter charge, then from there use your thruster, then just spam your Storm Grenades, and with Heart of Inmost Light and some other stuff going on, you'll be having all of your buddies back very quickly. But we're just getting started. There is so much more you could do. The first of which is a new artifact mod, the Lightning Strikes Twice, where after throwing your arc grenade, you will gain increased grenade recharge rate for a short time, and arc final blows will extend the timer. And like usual, this will be based on your discipline, so having as high discipline as you can is very important. Tier 100 is definitely recommended, and my secondary stat will definitely be resilience, which I don't have a good set on my Titan. I definitely need to do that. But what I did is go ahead and time how long it takes to get your grenade back with 100 discipline. It took exactly 40 seconds with a little bit of change. And now what you can do is put the artifact mod on, and you'll get a stat boost for initially 5 seconds, but every time you get an arc final blow, it will add, I think, 2 seconds back to the timer, and the highest it can go is 19 seconds or 20 seconds, because 0 counts as a full second in this game for the different buffs. So the max cap is 20 seconds. So in this build, you'll obviously pretty much always have this stat boost going, and that takes it down to a 27-second recharge rate for our grenade. So 13 seconds faster or 32.7% faster, which is obviously going to help get our grenade back a lot faster. And now looking at some of the mods we're using. So first with the combat mods, we have 1 Bountiful Wells. Then we have 3 copies of Ordnance. That way when we get a final blow with our Storm Grenade, it will actually create 4. And we don't have a 5th combat mod because we don't have any room. And that's because on our mark we're using Bomber, which I think is more important, where it will give you a chunk of your grenade back when you use your class ability. And our thruster comes back so fast in this build that we'll be getting that chunk very often. And to help get our thruster back even faster, we have 2 Bolster and Detonation, which is when you do damage with your grenade, you will get chunks of your class ability back. And obviously with this build, our storm grenades will always be roaming around and doing damage, so we'll constantly be proccing both of those over and over again. On our helmet, we also have Harmonic Siphon to create orbs and Ashes to Assets to get our super back very quickly with this build. It's actually quite shocking how fast it is. And finally, on our leg armor, we have 2 innervations to get chunks of our grenade back when we pick up the orbs, which we're creating from the Siphon along with the Fragment Amplitude when we get kills while amplified. So all in all with this build, once again, you just start off with your melee, then use your thruster, then start throwing your storm grenades, and every single grenade will create at least 4 arc elemental wells. You just simply go pick those up and you have all of your abilities once again. It is a full infinite combo with this build. And if we look at some of the weapons I'm using, really you can use whatever you want with this build. I think most time you'll find yourself just using the grenades, then your thruster, then your grenade back and forth. But I've been using Risk Runner. It feels pretty good. You can obviously use something like Thunderlord and it would kind of fit the identity of this build, but definitely not necessary by any means. Really whatever weapons you want would work pretty well with this build, which means you can adapt this for champions pretty easily because there is no really weapon you need with this build. So if you need Overload, use Thunderlord. If you need Anti-Bear, use Arbalist. Or even on your gauntlets, drop one of the bolstering detonations and run Anti-Barrier Scout, run Unstoppable Pulse, you know, whatever it is. It's very easy to make this work for whatever you're doing in the game. And for example, in the solo Lost Sector, this is probably like the worst Lost Sector in the game for this build because in the middle everything's floating and obviously not great to land a grenade or a short charge on floating things. But as you see, the Lost Sector was still extremely fast and easy with this build. One Storm Grenade with Empowered ×2 can easily kill a champion from full health. Maybe just shoot it a few times along the way to make it faster with whatever you're using, but the grenade alone will definitely get the job done for you. And just like before, as we showed off for the build and like the active part of these solo Lost Sectors, you know, you have infinite grenades, infinite short charges, constantly spamming your thruster to get your grenade back. And yeah, it just works really well. And one final thing to note about this build is when I was prepping for this video, it was Grenadier and we were doing the like seasonal loop of strikes into the catch crash into the expeditions, and the 2 playlist things, which were the strikes and the expeditions, both had Grenadier as one of the modifiers that day. And yeah, as you see in this gameplay on screen right now, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, this build alone without Grenadier is obviously extremely strong, but it was like comical like how fast you could throw these grenades with Grenadier on. And yeah, good luck to your teammates getting kills if you do it on a Grenadier day. One thing that I would possibly change for this build is if I down the road got a better armor set where I would have closer to 100 resilience along with the 100 discipline. What I would do is drop the artifact mod on my mark, which is taking up a lot of the energy, and instead run double bomber, which would free up a combat mod slot on my mark for another ordnance. Or what I would potentially do is put an ordnance there, and then on one of my other pieces change to a Seeking Wells, because honestly what you're going to be doing a lot of the time in this build is you're going to be throwing a grenade, then using your thruster towards the wells to then get your next grenade. So this entire build is like playing Where's Waldo with the wells and seeing which enemy actually created the 4 wells each time you throw your grenade. So yeah, I think adding in a Seeking Well would be really good and make it a lot more convenient to pick up those wells constantly. And I think running double bomber over the artifact mod if you had a really fast thruster recharge rate because of the increased resilience, which is tied to your class ability recharge rate, I think the fact that you'll be proccing bomber way more often would make up for the loss of the artifact mod. So yeah, that is my first Titan Arc 3.0 build. I'll definitely put the dim link down below. And if you guys want, I'll make a build with the new exotic gauntlets and the new melee. I'm just not a huge fan of it, and that's why I kind of look for a different build to upload first, like a more generic general play build that would work for a little bit of everything. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for the commentary. Just some strike gameplay left. As usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.